Welcome to Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Obviously, I'm not Eric Goodman or Bruce Haertl, but filling in today. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. I'm going to be joined here momentarily by my Denver Post colleague, Parker Gabriel. I am Troy Renck, columnist for the Denver Post. You've seen me on here a few times this week. Love coming on and chopping it up with the guys. Today, it'll be kind of like the pseudo podcast. Sometimes you see me on with Parker Gabriel. We'll be chopping up with some Broncos topics. Are Bo Nix and Sean Payton finally on the same page? Fingers crossed. I know Broncos country. Wait, there we go. Fingers crossed. The Broncos need to add a running back after the loss of J.K. Dobbins, which could be for the season unless they reach the Super Bowl. And is Coach Prime in trouble at CU? What are the fixes? Parker covered a lot of college football before he joined us at the Post. I'm interested to get his take on what's going on in Boulder. And, of course, throughout this, we're going to touch on some Avs and Nuggets. We can't dismiss that. The Avs had another huge win last night over the New York Rangers. Cale Makar is on a pace to have an all-time top 10 season for a defenseman. Nathan McKinnon's the lead for the MVP. Man, could there be a better time for Colorado sports? And the Nuggets, they face the Rockets tonight. They are on a heater as well. So going to talk some Broncos. We're going to talk some CU, and, of course, we'll sprinkle in some Avs and Nuggets. It's all coming up right after the break.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
You need to check out the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, Philly cheesesteak, egg rolls, and amazing cheese curds. They've got everything on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, and the NBA League Pass, plus their soccer, rugby, some UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar and a great place for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and now it's in Parker. That's the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. They are the sports bar. All right, welcome to the Lead. Talking a little sports here, and I want to bring in my colleague, Parker Gabriel. Usually it's a little less formal. We're on a podcast today. He's in that hot seat as my co-host here on Hot Takes. Again, it's Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. I'm not Eric. That's not Bruce. I'm Troy. That's Parker. And we're going to jump right in it with the Lead. Parker, thanks for joining me. It's early morning, but I know you're up. I know you're always up.
Only for a couple hours at this point with the boy.
Yeah, he's a new father, he and his wife, and they have, I don't miss those hours. The days go by, what do they say? The days are slow, the years go by fast. My kids are in their 20s, so I don't deal with that much anymore. But it's a great time. And Parker is killing it on the Broncos beat along with his colleague, Luca, and my colleague, Luca Evans. Parker, we see the win. They're 9-2. They are in position to chase the 1 seed. They're atop the AFC West in terms of the Broncos. But the one lingering question, maybe it's the mole on Cindy Crawford's face. Maybe it's just that little the dot on the cashmere sweater, if you will, from Seinfeld.
Yep.
Are Bo Nix and Sean Payton finally back on track based on what we saw, specifically in the second half? But based on what we saw against the Chiefs, do we think Bo Nix and Sean Payton are finally back on track?
Yeah, I think so. Although I'm not sure that I think about the situation radically different after Kansas City than I did after Las Vegas. Obviously, they played better offensively at times against the Chiefs, although for a good chunk of it, I mean, Adam Troutman said after the game too that, for a big chunk of it, they really didn't do a lot. Some of that's because J.K. Dobbins is hurt, which we're going to talk about later, obviously. But, I think in general, I mean, Bo Nix just has a knack for making winning plays and at winning time. But they also haven't had long stretches of sort of, in rhythm offense this year. And that didn't really change on Sunday against the Chiefs. So it's a huge win. They're in great position. I mean, far be it from me to poo-poo being 9-2 and, having a vice grip on the division too much. I just think there's still quite a bit of room for improvement there. And I still think that one of the, keys for the bye week is for them to sort of figure out and fine tune a little bit how they want to play offensively down the stretch. I mean, it's easy to say they're back on track and all of that, but, it was in the second quarter of the game when Tracy Wolfson said, that they had that clip coming back at the beginning of the second quarter of Bo Nix spinning his finger, and then he was clapping his hands, and then he yelled at the sideline, "Let's go. Like, get the play in. Come on, let's go." So, and that happened more than once during the game. So back on track. I mean, yeah, they're doing what they need to do to win games, but I think generally speaking, there's still quite a bit of room for them to get sort of more in rhythm, more in sync, play a little bit faster. And that's I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. That's a scary proposition for the AFC if you're talking about, this offense getting better given the way the defense is playing.
Yeah, that's Parker Gabriel, folks. If you're just joining us here on Hot Takes, Parker's out there every day. It's boots on the ground, and he knows this team and covers this team better than anyone, if you ask me. And that's not just because I worked at the Post with him. I thought that when I was still doing TV. My fat head was on nightly news. When I looked at them that last week, that third quarter, Bo, 7 for 8, 131 yards. And I sit next to Parker, full disclosure, Parker and I sit next to each other during Bronco games, and we were talking about that third quarter when it happened. There seems to be common traits when he gets into rhythm, meaning Bo Nix. And it seems to be tempo. Sean Payton hates that question that usually Luca asks. Our guy Luca. It's not Evan, it's Luca. And he doesn't live on the second floor as far as I know. That's a way dated reference for my audience. But Luca asked it, and even after the win, Sean got all huffy. Oh, here comes the tempo question. But he asked like we're asking it as if let's just put like you're some kind of gambler and you just lost a bunch of bets and you just won this lucky Hail Mary bet. Why don't we do that? It's because when your quarterback does it, we all visibly see success. Is there a balance there, Parker, as they move forward? As you said, there's room for improvement, and you need not apologize for 9-2,
right?
Especially after the previous 7-8 years, the previous 7 specifically. 9-2 feels like, the 72 Dolphins around here based on what we watched for almost a decade. But the offense is not consistent yet. And when they go tempo, they look better. Is there a balance now, Parker, or maybe even a pathway with Dobbins out to bend more to Bo Nix? Is that a possibility? Can they sprinkle in more tempo, even if if he just calls it something else? It feels like he just gets caught up in the word tempo, and it's like
turbo, and let's go.
Let's call it turbo, and we got something. Is there something there that they can incorporate and bend to Nix a little bit? Because I think we saw more of that last year, frankly. It felt like the offense fit Nix better. And what I saw in parts on Sunday was like, oh, that's the guy I saw for the most part for 12 weeks at the end of last season.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's sort of room for balance, but I also I think Sunday's a really good example because Kansas City entered the game leading the NFL in time of possession per game. So that's a team that you can't go, and it's probably going to be low scoring. Like Vance Joseph's always, since he's been back, they've just done a terrific job on Patrick Mahomes in this offense. So you figure it's going to be close. They have been recently with these two teams. You figure it's probably going to be relatively low scoring. Obviously, Steve Spagnuolo's got a really good defense. And so you can't just come out and play no huddle from the start and play really fast, because if you go 3 and out, you're just playing right into Kansas City's hands. But they did a good job. I thought for the most part, they did a good job of managing that. And that 11-play touchdown drive in the third quarter was sort of the ideal balance to me. Like they came out, I think they got an 8-yard completion to start. And then once they got a first down, they got a 4-yard run from Harvey on 2nd and 2. Now you got the first down in the drive. Then it was into no huddle. And it wasn't like they played warp speed. It's not, it's not Chip Kelly at Oregon. Right. It's not like that. It's just, you're getting in and out of the huddle. The tempo, to me, is 2 different things. It's one, are you using it as the tool to sort of keep the defense, basic and calm down that element of it, which can be an outcome. But mostly what it is for the Broncos is it's when are you breaking the huddle or getting to the line of scrimmage? And are you sort of like muddle huddling? Are you straight no huddling? And even if you do, huddle, are you getting out of it with 18 seconds left on the clock? And a lot of it, a lot of the tempo conversation to me, not all of it, but some of it is more about the play call when it gets to Bo Nix and when he gets out of the huddle. So that, to me, that's a piece of tempo, but I think for the Broncos compared to maybe other teams, it's a big piece of tempo because you can see the difference when Bo Nix is at the line quickly and he's maybe not spitting out a 20-word play call or whatever. So that's they did it well in the second half, and they sort of managed the game. They won the time of possession game. Like, I think tempo doesn't necessarily equate to playing fast, but it means being efficient between the plays to give your team sort of, and Bo Nix maximum advantage at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that's the kind of nuance you get from Parker because he's out there, folks. And I agree. And you make a great point, Parker. It's the operation. It's not necessarily the play call. Now, the play call is part of it when it's like a Tolstoy novel. And we know from Sean's press conferences, sometimes it doesn't come out smooth, the answer. A lot of times his answers are really in depth, but it takes a while to get moving. And he's not on a play clock when he's at a podium with us. And so you wonder, like, can they see that when they self-scout and say, hey, we got to get him. When we get this kid the play call faster and he gets to the line, which what do we think, Parker, 13, 14 seconds? What do you think is an ideal number to get him into the line?
Yeah, I think it's in that area. I mean, there's just too much correlation between, getting to the line with 8 and trying to move people around and all of that. And they try to do a lot of they try to help Bo Nix a lot. And every team does this. This is not it's not a Bo Nix thing, but they have done a lot, and they've used RJ Harvey, especially in the backs a lot this year, on different types of motion to try to get the man or zone indicator to help him out, give him a clue,
right.
On coverage. And so it's just hard when you get to the line with 8 and you're setting the guys and you want to flip a tight end, and then you're going to slide the protection, and then you're going to move the back in motion and back in or whatever, like just a lot going on in a short period of time always. And so obviously 5 or 6 seconds makes a big difference there.
And when you get there late, folks, part of the problem is it eliminates that audible. Usually you have 2 plays when you get to the line of scrimmage. Well, if you're getting up there at 8, how many times this season have they done a hockey line change? 4 new guys come in and Bo's screaming at them for 4 or 5 seconds. You over here, you over there. And you look up and there's 3 seconds on the clock. And where that really becomes an issue is on the road when you're going silent count and you're tapping your foot or, the one fake clap, you can't audible. I mean, whatever play you're in. And that just takes away a weapon from an offense. And someone who covered Peyton Manning, I can't even imagine how Manning, you would have seen smoke coming out of his helmet if he was getting to the line of scrimmage late, because he
just would have called a play and gone up there and said he would have done this one. Oh no, I don't think I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I'm going to go to the line.
Yeah.
Or he might have just looked over the line to gaze and flipped him off. I mean, he was I've never seen a guy who was more into it, but he would get there. And at the end, when I covered him the Super Bowl season, his foot was still jacked up with plantar fasciitis. His greatest strength was audibling, getting the men to positive run plays. He literally was able to just read it like a coach and get him into positive run plays. So speaking of which, we'll move on to topic here, the running back situation. J.K. Dobbins, for me, was their best offensive player for the first 10 weeks of the season. Not as used as we would have liked, but really second halves of games, just huge, these big contributions. Well, now he's out with a foot injury. And your reporting suggests there would be a chance if he played, if they reached the Super Bowl. I mean, that might even be a little ambitious because foot injuries for running backs, as you imagine, folks, not ideal. But you got RJ Harvey, you got Jaleel McLaughlin, and you've got Tyler Bidet. They stay patient. I'll give them credit. There was a 2 in front of that carries thing. 21 for 59 is not great, but it did help, to your point, time of possession, slow the game down. Sometimes you have to just eat it on run plays to keep the clock and win in another way. Do they need to add a running back? We see as Damon Pierce gets released. There's some other guys out there. I'll ask you a quick one about Cooks. I don't see Brandin Cooks as a receiver coming in. I don't see it right now, but Pierce gets released. He was a guy people liked a few years ago. Do they need to add to that room, Parker, or do you think they're going to let it play out for a couple of weeks? Or, kind of what is the scenario here, maybe in your educated guess? And is there a room for another body, even if it's a practice squad guy? How does it look moving forward? Because they got Washington coming out of the break and then Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, they literally have a practice squad spot open. So if you're talking about, a veteran, adding a veteran back to the practice squad or something like that, I mean, that's something they could just do. And obviously, creating room on the practice squad is not difficult if you want to go that route. I mean, I think they do, but it's a little bit tricky. Take Dameon Pierce, for example. The Broncos are last in waiver claim because they have the best record in football. So really there's not unless you think you're going to get in a bidding war with someone, there's not much of a reason to put a waiver claim on somebody as far as I can see it, because, they're going to be a free agent anyways. Damian Pierce is on his rookie deal. So, you could put a waiver claim in on him, make sure you get him instead of him going to free agency and then fit him in. The question then is just like, you could carry a back inactive, him probably, as he gets up to speed for a couple of weeks or something like that. But if you're adding somebody to the 53, at some point then are you saying that guy's going to play over, either McLaughlin or Bidet? Yeah, right. Probably at some point. Now I could see an argument just for adding a body for depth purposes, because if another back gets hurt, now you're really down to it. I mean, Deuce Vaughn's been on the practice squad now for a little while. I'm sure he knows enough about the system to get in there and play if necessary. But, even though, like Sean Payton always says, RJ Harvey's short, he's not small. And that's true when you stand next to him. I mean, he's built and all of that. But in terms of run style right now, like, you're just not. You've got a little bit of the, itty bitty committee with those three guys, and then Deuce Vaughn being the smallest out of all of them. So if you're looking for that sort of somebody to slug it out between the tackles, I mean, Pierce makes sense. Maybe I'm not quite sure. Somebody like Jamal Williams, I think, is a free agent, but he's 30. Yeah. You could. Latavius Murray just retired. He's 35. Obviously, he knows the Broncos and knows Sean. I just, I don't know. They went to that well once already with Mercedes Lewis. So, never say never. But I think they could use certainly another back. Borderline need another back. And at the same time, like, it's not like it's March and you can scroll through a full set of free agent backs and pick one you like. I mean, your options are pretty limited at this point.
And the fact Pierce lost his job, I mean, it is always fascinating to me when people are like, oh, you got to go get this guy and this guy. Like, why are they available? You always have to ask that question.
He had 900 plus yards his rookie year. That was 2022. He's had injury issues since then, fallen out of favor in Houston. He has 10 carries this year, even though, like, Joe Mixon hasn't played at all so far this season. They've gone with Woody Marks, and then, we were just down there blanking on the veteran they signed. But regardless, he's sort of been the odd man out, even with Joe Mixon out. Same time, like, he was a 4th-round pick. He's talented. He ran for 900 yards a couple of years ago. So, he's just the kind of guy, to me, like, if you were going to just shake a tree and roll the dice and see what happens with somebody, he'd be a pretty good candidate to do it, especially since at this point, like, realistically, you're not talking about playing immediately. So, yeah, I mean, he'd be the kind of guy where, like, especially if you get him to the practice squad, but even if it was, you're signing him to the 53, like, I could see that making some logical sense.
Right. And like you mentioned, it's not unprecedented that you get a guy like Mercedes Lewis. If they brought in Latavius Murray, we could do like a senior NFL league.
Yeah.
You get Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback. You just got like the senior PGA event. Murray is fascinating. I like Murray. He's a good dude. I've never seen a running back that tall. He was like legitimately like 6'3", 6'4". And he wanted Sean Payton here after that.
He was texting him before they even fired Hackett in 22. He told us that.
You need your help. And then he gets there, and then he cuts Murray.
He's a great dude, though. He's a good locker room presence too. So, I mean, like I say, he's the kind of, like, and here's the thing, like, you asked about Cooks too, like regardless of who it is or what position it is, like, Sean Payton loves this locker room. And so he is not going to do anything. You might be a little shorthanded, whatever, but, like, he is not going to do anything that's going to risk impacting the locker room in a negative way at all. Murray it's no risk on that front. Like, he's a great locker room presence. He's a veteran leader. He's Mercedes Lewis-ish in that way, but he's 35 and he retired earlier this year. So, like, is he in shape? Has he played?
Right.
All that, like, that's a different question, but that's as much of a consideration with a free agent, especially when you're on an 8-game winning streak. And especially, when Sean Payton's the coach, like, the impact and the presence in the meetings, in the locker room, all of that matters as much or more than what the guy is on the field at this point.
Exactly. And when you got the chemistry right, and when I was the one that asked Sean the question about why are you able to win in spots like this, he talks about the culture and the kind of guys he's brought in. And people roll their eyes at it, but Parker and I covered the Nate Hackett era. Like, you get guys who aren't pulling in the same direction. The problem is when things get sideways, they become mercenaries, and they're looking out. It becomes a we versus me thing. And every good team I've covered, guys care about each other in the locker room. They take ownership. Just a real quick answer in this, and we'll go to a break. Brandin Cooks comes up. It's on social media. It hasn't been released yet. In talking to folks at the Saints, don't seem like he's got much left. Would you think the Broncos would kick the tires on Cooks given his experience, or is it, Sean didn't exactly keep him around the times he had him in New Orleans? Just real quick, Parker, do you think they would kick the tires, on Brandin Cooks, the receiver?
I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think it's especially likely. I mean, Sean drafted him. He also traded him. I think after he had some comments about, Breeze and deep balls and all of that. And that's sort of like, so I doubt it. The argument I can see is, listen, like, he's not a running back, but J.K. Dobbins was a playmaker, and you lost a sort of your foremost, most consistent playmaker. So if you thought he had something in the tank, like, you might have to play a little bit of a different way. But that's the argument I could see. I just don't, like I said, I mean, Courtland Sutton, this isn't even specifically only to Brandin Cooks, but this is what we're just talking about. Like, Courtland Sutton doesn't complain if he gets 1 or 2 catches in a game. Like, you're not going to bring in a guy who's going to be your 5th receiver and who also might be rankled about role or whatever like that. It's just doesn't make a lot of sense at this point.
That's Parker Gabriel. I'm Troy Renck. You're listening to Hot Takes here with Goodman and Haertl. We're filling in, obviously. I'm going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back, touch on CU, and then have a little conversation about the Avs Nuggets start. Are we in the golden age of Colorado sports? My word. It used to be your fans crossing their fingers for a win. Now these teams never lose, Parker. So we're going to get to all of that after a quick break.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hottakes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Here's another great promotion from Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk. On December 13th, it's their annual holiday auction for a pair of Super Bowl tickets, tools, jewelry, electronics, toys, and kitchen appliances. Earn auction currency with every locked up jackpot, players' points, or a daily cash drawing. There's so many ways to earn currency, and the more you play, the more you'll be able to bid and win what you want at their auction. So get up to Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos and start stacking your auction currency today.
Welcome back to Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Troy Renck here with my colleague from the Denver Post, Parker Gabriel. We are in the stretch run now of the show, Parker. So we're going to move topic up Broncos. If you want Broncos talk, you can catch that earlier in the show. Parker covered that. We're going to move quickly to CU and Boulder. Deion Sanders' third season, not going as expected, 3 wins, not going to even a crappy bowl. There's 47 bowls. You think you could make one when your coach is making almost $11 million, but it hasn't happened. And I wrote in the Post today, like, it demands significant change. Not saying we're firing Deion. No one's writing a check for $33 million for him to go away. But you covered college sports. and it's a little after the total NIL explosion. But when you look at what's going on with Boulder, Parker, and where Deion used to win the portal, he changed the paradigm recruiting. Now he still does the portal, but others do it. And frankly, a lot of them do it better than him because they have more money.
Yeah.
What is the key for the Buffs to get stable where a bad season is a bowl game? You know, like that, it just feels like the first season, it's totally cratered. Last year, great, 9 wins. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter covered up a lot of blemishes. This year, Deion himself said he thought they were going to be more talented. And here they are, not even going to a bowl game. You got Juju Lewis at quarterback. You still got Seton. You got a few pieces, but you've covered college sports. You covered Nebraska football. You've seen it when it matters. What is the key for them to get on track, meaning where they're just consistently competitive?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything in football. Like if you're good at the line of scrimmage, and if you can recruit and develop and retain at the line of scrimmage, like you're gonna be okay. Like that's sort of that's the most straightforward route to competency. But that's also not easy to do, especially in this era. I just think like they don't have as much money as everybody, but they're also not facing teams with $30 million rosters every single week in the conference. Right. And all of that. So to me, like the best college teams I've covered it's always been about coaching. And obviously recruiting matters, stars matter. That's true. But it's always about coaching and not just from the head coach. Like the best college football teams typically have the best assistant coaching staff. So that's just the way it works because you have to coach. They're young, like they're kids, they're young adults. Like you have to coach, develop, and improve. A kid cannot be the same player the first year to the second year to the third year. And now the challenge is even if you only have them for 12 months on campus, they've got to be a different player, at the end of the season than they were at the beginning. So a lot of it to me is about the systems. Obviously, Robert Livingston has a good reputation and is a guy who's like done it at a high level on the defensive side. Offensively, I think it's just system, process, and how are you coaching, especially at the line of scrimmage. So I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know those truths to be self-evident when it comes to trying to build in college football.
When you dealt with the coaches was it hard even at Nebraska where they had money, they had resources, and it's not Nebraska of the 90s, we understand that. Was it hard to identify young coaches who are both good at teaching and have the appetite to recruit? Because I do think, Deion's got a celebrity coach problem. I do think Marshall Faulk's made the running backs better.
Yeah.
And he's not really looking for the spotlight. He never did, even as a player. But part of the problem with the celebrity coach is even if he can teach, you need grinders, don't you? Don't they have to serve a dual purpose, especially? And I wrote today, Deion Sanders has got to start doing in-person visits. If Bill Belichick can get on a plane or go into a recruit's house, health willing, Deion Sanders has got that's for me his biggest calling card right now. It's his charisma, his personality. He's got to get in some homes. But is that difficult, Parker, when you are around it, even at Nebraska, to find that coach who can teach and wants to recruit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're obviously talking about a superstar if you find a coach who sort of does all of the above and does all of them at a really high level. Part of it is finding the right mix for your staff. Okay. The guys who are going to go out on the road. Like, it doesn't have to be the receivers coach that recruits all the receivers and the tight ends coach recruits all the tight ends. You need some guys that are good, obviously, in a house that can go out and recruit and But identifying talent, honestly, is like as big a challenge too. Like you can go out and recruit 4 stars, but not all 4 stars are created equal. You could go find a kid maybe down the road or in Wyoming that you have to have a little vision for. But if you can really develop them, then you're turning them into good players. I mean, this is like teams in the Midwest, teams that aren't in Florida, Texas, California, have to do this all the time in the middle of the country. And that's gotten harder in the NIL era, but I think, and now that you have sort of more fewer limits on staff, and so it's your general manager and your sort of like recruiting and scouting department is as funny as that sounds in college football, like those guys have to identify and recruit, and then your coaches have to coach. Like I think that'll be even more important in college going forward, honestly.
That's why, I wrote this. I hope that Deion Sanders recognizes that significant changes need to be made. There's part of us that wonder, would he be better off being the general manager of a program, not the coach? That's not changing. It's not. After next year, I think that becomes a fair conversation, because then if you have 3 losing seasons and 4 and you don't go to a bowl and you're not competitive, we'll see where it goes. But now we switch and we finish the program with the bright side. The Avs win again last night, 6-3 over the Rangers. Cale Makar, 2 goals and assists. I'm saying he should be in the MVP conversation. I wrote that earlier this week. Well, it's hard when Nathan MacKinnon also has 2 goals and an assist. I mean, the McKinnon is absolutely just playing with rocket fuel in his body. Scott Wedgwood is doing a Patrick Waugh impersonation. And then you go over to the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is on an all-time heater, and it gets lost because he's been so great. He is more efficient right now than Jabbar at his height.
Yeah.
Olajuwon at his height. I mean, if he wins another MVP, for me, he's now forget center. If he wins an MVP and they win a championship, he's a top 10 all-time great. When we go quickly to those sports. What has captured you? I know you're so busy with your sports. Is there anything that's jumped for you in watching those teams? Because typically this time of year, we don't see all 3 playing like this. I can say growing up, I covered the Avs for 2 years after they won the Stanley Cup, and the Nuggets weren't good then. I wrote this in the summer, like the 3 of them have never been good together since the Avs moved here. And it's not the Avs' fault. They've been to the playoffs 21 times in like 30 years. They're doing their part.
Yep.
It's the Nuggets and Broncos, which was crazy, went through some droughts. Anything that captures your imagination with what looks like this golden age of Colorado professional sports over here the last month or so.
Yeah, I'm just the rate of winning is incredible. When you look across 3 teams and how many games have they lost since, September 22nd or whatever it was the last time. I mean, 2 months almost to the day since the Broncos have lost. And then obviously both of those teams off the blistering starts. And the other thing, it's not a novel take necessarily, maybe not befitting a hot takes program, but I hope people don't lose sight of just what McKinnon and Makar are, and then what Jokic has done. They're not just 3 of the best players in their sports right now. I mean, they're Hall of Famers, and then you could throw, and the thing about them is all of them are still relatively, I mean, McKinnon's been in the league for a long time, obviously, maybe the elder statesman of the group, but you throw a player like Pat Surtain, who obviously hasn't played the last few weeks, in there, and you're talking about, on current track, just surefire Hall of Fame type players across 3 different teams. And, maybe some teams normally, or some cities have a guy like that, or a woman at any given time that's sort of at the height of their sport. But you're talking about 3 different teams playing at really high levels that all have a player sort of leading the way that you look at and say yeah, he's the best at what he does on the planet right now. I just don't think that's probably real common to have 3 teams that have that person in place in the same city at the same time.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, when I covered the Avs back in the 90s, I didn't totally understand or appreciate what I was watching, but they had Forsberg and Sakic and Waugh. And obviously John Elway was still at the Broncos. So it's similar to that, because then you had Elway was a Hall of Famer, Gary Zimmerman, Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp.
Right.
So similar in that vein. But even then, I just don't know, you don't get into the conversation that Jokic is in. I grew up in Colorado. I understand what John Elway meant to this, and we'll finish here. What John Elway meant to this state. Yep. When I tell people this, he's not on the Mount Rushmore. He is the Mount Rushmore. He's Babe Ruth, and there's everyone else, because of what it made people take the state of Colorado seriously because of John Elway, the greatest college football prospect ever. Crazy, never even went to a bowl game. We're talking about bowl game. I think Jokic is now the greatest athlete in the history of Colorado sports. He will never have what John was at the center of it. He was the genesis. So that carries weight and strength. But Jokic, for me, Parker, I mean, he's got a chance. Again, he's going to have to win another title. Or I'll ask you, do you think he does for his ranking? But for me, we're watching a greatest of all time.
Yeah.
People that tell you, did you ever see Larry Bird? Did you see Michael Jordan? Did you see, all these? This is it. This is what it looks like, folks. It doesn't get better. He's Larry Bird at 7 feet. He's Bill Walton if he were healthy. He's Arvydas Sabonis. He's all these guys that you watched growing up in one player. And he does it from the 3-point line.
Right.
Kareem had a hook shot, but Kareem wasn't out there sinking 3-pointer. I saw Kareem live a few times. So do we have our head wrapped around just what we're seeing with Jokic? And does he need a title, a second, to be in that all-time conversation for you?
Well, I think not to me, but I think, sort of nationally and globally, yeah, I mean, it would cement the legacy as one of the great players of all time. They're just, there'd be no holes in the resume, which you can't even, I don't think you can even really make a good faith argument on that front at this point anyways, just given what he does night in and night out, year in and year out. But there'd be no doubt. It'd be sort of like the Broncos beating the Chiefs. Like if you're taking Jokic's career and comparing it to the Broncos 2025 season, like the Chiefs win sort of just, it's like a race as any, like what can you say now? That's what the guys were saying in the locker room, right? And that the second championship for Jokic would be like the career version of that, of like, there's no buts.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how do you like me now?
Yeah.
Well, Parker, I can't thank you enough for joining me here on Hot Takes. Well, hopefully we'll see each other soon on a Broncos podcast with the Post or my podcast that'll be back 2 times a week next week. And it's a great time, folks, to be in Broncos country, to be a Nuggets nation, to be an Avs fan. Nuggets are back to work tonight against the Rockets. You're talking about an Avs team that's off to one of the best starts in 20 games, one of the 4 best starts in the history of the sport. This is a good time, folks. Broncos will be back to work on Monday. They have the Commanders. They did not flex that game out. And then they go Raiders, so a very real chance to be 11-2 as the schedule then stiffens after that. Thank you, Parker Gabriel, for joining me. All of you, go out there and have a great weekend. I fill in on a show like this for you folks, but happiness, that starts with me. Go out there and have a great day.